Hey, so I'm making a video on how to set up FPV for any RC car. You're going to need a few things. The RC car, obviously, an FPV camera, and goggles. I'm going to be using my Kyosho Mini Z 4x4 to show how to set it up. This camera here is available on Amazon for under $20, but you want to just make sure that whatever you buy has a camera and transmitter as a unit, because you can buy the camera and transmitter separately, and sometimes it's not super obvious when you're buying it. But you need both of them obviously to work. So just make sure that whatever you buy has both the lens here and the antenna here. The goggles that I'm using are the Fat Shark Recon V3. These are around $120 on Amazon, but I bought these used for $60, so definitely make sure to see if you can score any deals used first. You can also find new goggles on Amazon for as cheap as $60, but just make sure that they have a DVR function, which is your digital video recording, just so that you can play back your footage just in case you want to ever, make a video or just kind of improve on whatever skills that you're doing if you're trying to hit a line or something like that. When you get the camera out of the box, it comes with just these two wires, and it actually comes with this connector here. I just ended up removing it and putting a standard servo lead on it just to plug it into my receiver. But it's up to you on how you want to wire the camera into your car. This input voltage, according to the manual, is 3.3 to 5.5 volts. So you can use a separate one cell battery if you don't want to mess with your car's wiring, but I think it's cleaner to just plug it into your receiver. So as a quick side note, on a bigger car like this TRX4, you want to make sure that your ESC that's powering your receiver is set at 5 volts or 5.5 volts or less if you're going to be plugging your camera straight into your receiver. So, but you don't want to be running your main steering servo, especially on a crawler with a lot of weight on it. You don't want to be running your steering servo at only 5.5 volts. So you would want to run an external BEC that's connected only to the steering servo and not to the receiver. A lot of times people will cut the red wire going from the ESC to the receiver and just plug in the BEC, but don't do that. You'd want to just connect it straight to your servo. And it's hard to tell what I've done here, but there's harnesses that you can buy that allow you to connect straight to the servo instead of connecting your BEC to the receiver. So just want to make a note on that so you don't plug in everything and then fry your camera at the very start. Okay, so back to the Mini Z 4x4. So let's just take off the body and plug this in. You wouldn't be able to do this on a stock Mini Z as easily because of the electronics, but I've gotten everything converted to regular electronics, thankfully. So once I can just figure out how to put this in, there you go. So just plug it into any channel and then just turn on your controller. Turn on your battery in your car. Okay, so once everything's booted up, you'll see that there's a few LEDs on the back. And so this is just to tell you what channel and band that this camera is operating on. And what that does is just tells you what channel and band you need to set your goggles on, just so that they could talk to each other. So if you open up this manual, it comes with this little frequency and channel table here. And you can see that there's 5 different bands going down the table, and there's 8 different frequency or channels going across the table. So I would suggest just putting all of your vehicles and cameras on one band and frequency, or one band and channel, just so that it's easier to just turn on your camera or your goggles and your car, and you always know that it's going to be kind of connected to each other, rather than trying to figure out or remember or write down every single frequency that your car is on, and then having to change your goggles every single time to do that. So in my case, I've chosen, for whatever reason, channel 2, and the frequency is the band 2 and channel 6. And so you can see it's set here based on these LEDs in the back. All you have to do is press the button on the top and it'll move the channel. And then if you long press, it moves the band on the top, the blue LED. So I'm just gonna move this back to 2. And so that should be good. And now if I turn on my goggles, you can kind of see in there. You can see that it's working. There's my controller and the rest of the car and some other stuff over there. So anyway, that's how you connect them together. That's how you make sure that the goggles and the camera are connected. So let me turn all that off. Now the next thing you need to do is just figure out how to mount this. Sorry about that. Just need to figure out how to mount this. So what I did with my SCX24 was, well, what's left of it, the SCX24 I guess, was make this little enclosure. I 3D printed it. I can put the design on Thingiverse if that helps, but once I set up the band and the channel, I just double-sided taped this camera into this enclosure, and now it's pretty secure and sturdy. And then I just made another little mount here, and so that kind of gives it a good first-person view. I would just suggest, leaving it under the roof somewhere so that if it does roll, it's not gonna affect the antenna or the camera. So this one kind of gives a good first-person view, and I will include some footage from the goggles using the DVR mode, of course, just to show what it looks like and to see if you'd be interested in something like that as well. But the camera angle even over here is wide enough that I could see both tires and I can see the suspension working. So it's really cool. It's a really different part of the hobby, and even just driving around or doing simple lines that you wouldn't think are super hard are quite challenging and quite different with FPV. So if you have a chance, definitely recommend trying it out. Hope this helped. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thanks.